The marble floors of the Grand View Hotel's lobby gleamed under crystal chandeliers as Thomas. Warren adjusted his tie nervously. He wasn't supposed to be here, not really. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the power of small moments to change lives, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Also, tell us in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? As a mid-level software engineer at Meridian Tech, he'd only been invited to this corporate retreat because his boss needed someone to handle the technical presentations. The real power players, the executives and investors, moved through the space like sharks in expensive suits, and Thomas felt distinctly out of place. But he wasn't alone. His 6-year-old daughter Maya sat beside him on a leather sofa, her small legs swinging as she colored in her notebook, humming softly to herself. Being a single father meant moments like these, bringing his daughter along when childcare fell through, hoping nobody would mind too much. Across the vast lobby, Thomas noticed a commotion near the ornate chess tables that decorated the hotel's lounge area. A crowd had gathered, and he could hear laughter, some of it uncomfortable. Curiosity got the better of him, and he stood, taking Maya's hand. They approached the gathering, just as a booming voice cut through the murmur of conversation. Is this truly the best your American companies can offer? A CEO who cannot even see 3 moves ahead? The voice belonged to Sheikh Hassan al-Rashid, a billionaire investor from Abu Dhabi, whose face had been plastered across the business news for weeks. He was considering a massive investment in several American tech firms, and Meridian Tech was at the top of his list. The sheikh sat at one of the chess tables. His traditional white thobe and black agile making him stand out among the suited executives. Across from him sat David Chen, the CEO of Meridian Tech, Thomas's ultimate boss, looking increasingly flustered. The chessboard between them told a story of dominance. Sheikh al-Rashid's pieces controlled the center, while David's position looked cramped and desperate. Perhaps in America, you are accustomed to participation trophies, the sheikh continued, his English perfect but laced with condescension. But in the real world, in business and in chess, there are only winners and losers. He moved his queen with a flourish, placing David's king in check. Check again. The crowd shifted uncomfortably. Some of the executives tried to laugh along, but there was an edge to the moment. This wasn't just a game anymore. It was a public humiliation, and everyone knew it. David moved his king, but his face had gone red. The sheikh had been toying with him for 20 minutes. Each move accompanied by another cutting remark about American business practices, American arrogance, American incompetence.
Thomas felt Maya's hand tighten in his.
She'd stopped looking at the crowd and was now staring at the sheikh with an intensity unusual for a 6-year-old. Baba, she whispered, using the Arabic word for father that she'd learned from her late mother. Thomas's wife, Layla, had been Egyptian, and though she'd passed away when Maya was only 3, she'd made sure their daughter grew up hearing Arabic, learning about her heritage. Thomas had continued that tradition as best he could, finding tutors, playing Arabic music, reading bilingual books together. What is it, Habibti? Thomas whispered back, crouching down to her level. Maya's dark eyes, so much like her mother's, were troubled. That man is being mean. He's saying bad things, not just about the chess game. Thomas frowned. What do you mean? But before Maya could answer, the sheikh made another move and launched into a fresh tirade, this time in Arabic. He clearly assumed no one in the American crowd would understand him, and his words flowed freely, harsh and mocking. Thomas caught only fragments, his Arabic rudimentary at best, but Maya's expression darkened. The game ended moments later with David's king cornered, checkmated. The sheikh stood, spreading his arms magnanimously. Perhaps we should reconsider this investment, he said in English, loud enough for everyone to hear. If this is the caliber of leadership at Meridian Tech, I fear for any money we might place in your hands. The executives around them erupted in protests, trying to salvage the situation, but the sheikh waved them off dismissively. He began speaking in Arabic again, this time to his assistant who stood nearby, and Thomas felt Maya pull away from his hand. Before he could stop her, she'd walked right up to the sheikh, her small figure somehow commanding attention despite her size. Excuse me, sir, Maya said clearly, in perfect Arabic, her child's voice cutting through the chaos. You shouldn't say things like that about people when you think they can't understand you. It's not nice, and it's not what a good person does. The lobby went completely silent. Sheikh al-Rashid stared down at the little girl who'd just addressed him in flawless Arabic, his expression frozen somewhere between shock and disbelief. Maya continued, her words precise and thoughtful in a way that made Thomas's heart swell with pride and panic simultaneously. You said in Arabic that these Americans are foolish and deserve to lose their money, that they're too stupid to see when someone is smarter than them. But my Baba always tells me that being smart isn't about making other people feel small. Real intelligence is about lifting others up, teaching them, helping them grow. My mama, before she went to heaven, she told me that in Arab culture, hospitality and respect are the most important things. She said that a truly great person shows kindness to everyone, especially when they have power. The Sheikh's face had transformed, the arrogance melting into something else entirely. He lowered himself slowly, bringing himself to Maya's eye level. And when he spoke, his voice was completely different, gentle and weighted with emotion. What was your mother's name, child? He asked in Arabic. Layla Mansour, Maya replied. She was from Cairo. She taught me that my Arabic heritage means being proud but also being good to people. Sheikh al-Rashid closed his eyes briefly, and when he opened them, they glistened. I knew a Layla Mansour once, many years ago. In Cairo, she was the daughter of a scholar, a woman of great wisdom and kindness. Could this be? Thomas stepped forward, his voice shaking. My wife passed 3 years ago. She was indeed the daughter of Professor Ahmed Mansour. You knew her? The sheikh stood, and suddenly he was no longer the arrogant billionaire mocking people over chess. He was simply a man, humbled and moved. I knew her family well. Her father was my teacher, the man who taught me that wealth without wisdom is worthless, that power without compassion is poison. I have strayed far from his teachings, it seems. This child, your daughter, she has reminded me of who I once promised to be. He turned to address the entire crowd, switching to English. I have behaved abhorrently today. I came here believing my wealth and success gave me the right to diminish others, to test you all through humiliation rather than honest dialogue. A 6-year-old child has shown more wisdom and courage than I have displayed in years. He looked at David Chen directly. Mr. Chen, I apologize. I turned a simple game into a weapon, used it to belittle you publicly. This was wrong. Would you give me the honor of another game? This time played with respect, where we might learn from each other rather than tear each other down. David, still processing everything that had happened, nodded slowly, a cautious smile forming. I think I'd like that, Sheikh al-Rashid. But the sheikh held up his hand. Please call me Hassan, and perhaps this young lady might give us both some pointers. She clearly has inherited her mother's wisdom, and if she's learning chess from her father, she may well be better than both of us. Maya giggled, the tension finally breaking, and suddenly the whole lobby seemed lighter, warmer. The executives who'd been watching the drama unfold began to relax, genuine smiles replacing their corporate masks. Over the next hour, something remarkable happened. Hassan sat with David and Thomas and Maya, and they talked not about investments or quarterly projections, but about life, family, values, the things that truly mattered. Hassan shared stories about Professor Mansour, about Layla as a young woman who'd stood up to him. Once before when he'd been arrogant, how she'd changed his perspective then too. He'd lost touch with the family when his business had exploded, when wealth had insulated him from genuine human connection. Your daughter has given me a great gift today, Hassan said to Thomas as the evening wound down. She has reminded me that my teacher's lessons were not meant to be forgotten. When I became successful, they were meant to guide me, especially then. He turned to Maya. Young one, you are named for night, for mystery and beauty, just like your mother. I can see she lives on in you, in your courage and your kindness. Will you accept a promise from me? Maya nodded solemnly. I promise that I will never forget this day, this lesson you've taught me. And I promise that any business I do with your father's company will be conducted with honor, with respect, with the values your mother would have wanted to see in the world. As they prepared to leave that night, Hassan pulled Thomas aside. The investment in Meridian Tech will proceed, but more than that. I'd like to establish a scholarship fund in Layla's name, for children learning about their dual heritages, building bridges between cultures. Would you help me with this? Thomas felt tears threatening. She would have loved that. Yes, absolutely yes. The story spread quickly through the business world. Not the version about an Arab billionaire almost pulling an investment, but the real story about a 6-year-old girl who spoke truth to power, who reminded a man who'd forgotten himself about the values that truly mattered. Meridian Tech's partnership with Hassan's investment group became one of the most successful in the industry, built not on dominance or competition, but on mutual respect and shared values. And Maya, she grew up knowing that her mother's legacy lived on not just in her, but in the positive change that one moment of courage and honesty could create. Years later, Hassan would still tell the story, often to other wealthy business people who'd grown too comfortable with their power. I was humbled by a child, he'd say, and it was the greatest gift I ever received. She reminded me that in every culture, in every faith, in every tradition worth preserving, kindness and respect matter more than winning. Real strength is in lifting others up, not pushing them down. The chess set from that day remained in Hassan's office, a permanent reminder that sometimes the most important lessons come from the smallest teachers, and that heritage, wisdom, and courage can flow through generations, waiting for the right moment to change everything. If this story touched your heart and reminded you of the power of kindness, courage, and staying true to your values, please like, share, and subscribe to Kindness True Stories. Your support helps us continue sharing these meaningful tales that inspire positive change in our world. Together, we can spread more compassion and understanding, one story at a time.